What's up guys, it's Z here, welcome back. Today we're going to do the discussion about the ban list. In less than a month from now we're going to get a new list, and to be honest I think the format has been actually pretty good so far. I think Konami doesn't have to do a lot from here on out to balance the format unless we get a new deck that's going to become the top of the food chain. But for now I think that we're in a pretty good format. We haven't been in such a good format for a very long time, but I still think there have to be a few adjustments to make it even better, because we can always make the game better. So if you enjoyed the video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming content. Comment down below if you have any thoughts about the ban list and suggestions of what Konami might do or what Konami should do in the upcoming video, in the upcoming ban list. And now let's get to the video. So to come up for the new ban list, we have to look at the three top decks. So we have to look at Virtual World, we have to look at Eldritch, and we have to look at Drytron. Now, we cannot really tell which one of these decks is the best deck right now. It's very arguable, and this is why I think this is one of those formats that we have a really good format, because when you cannot really define the best deck, then you have a lot of chances of winning with pretty much anything else. So let's start with a banned card. So I only have one banned card here, and that's True King of all Calamities. I think it was only a matter of time before this card got banned. Ever since it got released, it has been such a long time, but we were only waiting for an archetype that was going to abuse this card like no other, and Virtual World gave us this archetype. This archetype made two Calamities instead of one, being able to play around Nibiru with the first one, because you could just bait Nibiru with it and then summon a second one. I think Virtual World just made use of this card like no other deck ever did, and now I think it's time for Konami to put the nail in this card's coffin, because it is not an interactive card at all. It doesn't let your opponent play, and even if this card gets banned, I don't think Virtual World is dead by any means. The deck is really good, the deck has tools to do a lot, and we just got a new rank 9 monster in Blazing Vortex that acts as a disruption, because it can negate any card effect as long as it can detach the same card from it as material. So as long as Calamities exists, we do not have any reason to play a monster like that, because it's just a huge downgrade. So I think one of those reasons that Konami gave us this monster means that we're going to get Calamities banned very, very soon, and I think it's going to happen on the next list. It did not happen in the previous list because Virtual World was still a fairly new deck, but now I think it's had a decent amount of time to be played, so pretty much it's now the best time to put an end to this card. For the limited section, let's talk about Eldritch first. So when people talk about Eldritch, ever since it got released, because it was a decent deck, people were saying that when it got hit, then Scarlet Sanguine would be the one card to go to 1. And I don't really agree with that, because yes, Scarlet Sanguine is a powerful card, but the problem with this is that it can be very searchable. If people just start playing Foolish Burial Goods, they can dump stuff like Hakuero and Conquistador to the grave, and then float them into Scarlet Sanguine. So you're not really doing anything by putting Sanguine to 1. Maybe you just use the grind game to a little bit more advantage, because you will not be able to get another Eldritch from your deck, but as long as you get one copy of Eldritch out of your deck, then you can keep bringing it back from the grave with its own effect, so it's not like you need to resolve more than one Sanguine in a duel in order to get the engine rolling. So I think the card that should go to 1 is Cursed Elderland. Cursed Elderland is the card that not only searches not only Eldritch but the Golden Lad cards, but it's also very, very good going second because of the effect that it has when it's sent to the grave, and the synergy with Eldritch, not only being able to send one card from your opponent's field to the grave, but also send Elderland to the grave to bring Eldritch back from the grave. So in the OCG, of course, this card got hit to 2, but I think we need to be a little bit more strict here and put it to 1, because the engine is so splashable. We see it with Zoo, we see it with pretty much anything. Heck, we've even seen with Evil Twins. So yeah, I don't think Konami likes engines being so popular in pretty much anything, so this is why I think Elderland should go to 1. And one more thing, Elderland is not a searchable card while Sanguine is, and it hurts any deck a lot more when you hit the unsearchable cards than when you hit the searchable cards. So this is why I think this is going to go to 1. But don't get me wrong, it's going to be a very decent engine still, and it might need further hits in the future, but for now I think just hitting this card and seeing where the engine goes from here on is actually a good move from Konami. Now the other card I want to go to 1, I basically think that Drytron is fairly new and they wouldn't hit anything from it, but I think Cyber Angel Benton should go to 1, because if they leave Drytron untouched just because they have the excuse of it being a new deck, when it gets a new Xyz monster in Lightning Overdrive, then we might have a tier 0 format if they hit the Virtual World and Eldritch. Because Drytron is very well the best out of those three, a lot of people argue that, and if you do not touch the best deck and you touch the other two while giving the other one support, then yes, we might get into a tier 0 format, and ever since Block Dragon got banned, I think the format has been very nice, and it would not be a really great move from Konami to ruin the format by leaving Drytron untouched. So I think putting Benton to 1, first of all, you do not touch any of the new cards that got released, so it's not like you affect sales, because the deck is still going to be insane. You have so many ways to get to Benton with stuff like Preparation of Rites. If you want to tribute her again, you can do that because Drytron has ways to ritual summon anything from the grave, so if you want to get her searched twice, you can just ritual summon her from the grave and tribute her again, although I don't think you would actually do that because you actually want to search her effect just once to get to your Vanity's Ruler. But let's say your opponent Ashes or Skullmeisters your Benton from the grave, then you have a way to bring her back with a correct hand and then tribute her again to actually get that Vanity's Ruler, so it's not like it's completely pointless after you've used the one copy of Benton. So this is why I think just putting her to 1 does not kill the deck at all, but actually limits its plays, because, like I said, if we don't do that, we're going to see a format where only Drytron is going to be played and very few rogue decks are going to be seen. So I think we need to address all 3 top dogs for the format just to make sure that the next format doesn't end up being worse than the previous one. For the semi-limited cards, I have just one, and that's Dynamite Knight. Last ban list showed us that Konami is actually willing to start giving True Draco back cards they put King's Return to, so this is why I think they're going to start giving it back tools, because let's be real, ever since Diagram and Card of Demise went to 1, the deck has been absolutely unplayable. People have been trying to make it work, people have been putting even more floodgates in to make it work, but it's not the problem that we do not have enough floodgates, it's the problem that the deck is not consistent enough anymore, because it doesn't have ways to search monsters when it needs to, or when it does have a lot of monsters to search spells and traps with Diagram. It doesn't have the apparent draw power that Card of Demise gave it, so we could actually draw more floodgates, because now 1 or 2 floodgates might not be enough, especially with stuff like Harpy's Feather Duster being off the list. So this is why I think Konami is going to give us back more cards. They will not put Dynamite back to 3 immediately, just like what they did with True King's Return. They like testing the waters first with stuff that used to be really good, especially cards that got hit from certain archetypes, and they put them to 2 at first just to see how things go, and then if they don't end up doing anything, they will put them to 3 the next ban list. So that's, you can expect that to happen with True Draco. And Dynamite is a card that, as many copies as we have, we're going to play. If it goes back to 3, we're going to play 3 copies, because it's the best out of the 3 monsters, because it gives you access to traps, and traps are the disruptions for the deck unless you already have a floodgate. But like I said, you cannot really rely on floodgates too much now, so being able to access more disruption through the traps is actually really good. For the unlimited section, following the same trend with True Draco, we're going to put True King's Return to 3. This is 100% going to happen, because it went to 2 during the last list, then we're going to get 3 copies back, which is a good thing, because not only is this card a disruption, but it gives you more monsters on the field, and swarming with True Draco is not really an easy thing to do, especially since this card has been at 1 since forever. But now we can get more monsters on the field, get more damage on the field, and True Draco can actually try to win games more fast, because it's a deck that cannot really grind now, because you don't have the god top deck of Card of Demise, especially if you have used it early, because you don't have another copy. Yes, you can top deck it late game, but when you had 3, it was so often that people would just activate 2 or 3 copies of Card of Demise during 1 game. So yeah, we need more stuff to be able to play with True Draco, and although the deck has a lot of fans, people used to hate it back in the day just because of how the deck was played, but now people are getting nostalgic about it, and they wish that they had one more anti-meta deck to play with just to stop the meta, because a lot of people do not really like playing the meta decks, or they cannot afford the meta decks, so they try to play something else. And this is one of those decks that can actually beat the meta no matter what that meta is, because you just adjust the floodgates. And this is why I think a lot of people would be pretty happy to see cards come back, because I don't think Konami plans on bringing back Diagram or Card of Demise, so at the very least bring back the cards that we know that are not going to be problematic if they're put back to 3. Now I have 2 more cards in the unlimited section, and I'm going to discuss why these cards they should definitely come back to 3, but Konami might have forgotten about them, but I'm pretty sure that there is no reason for them being at where they are right now. So the first card is Rank Up Magic Argent Chaos Force. If you don't know why this card is on the ban list, it's because back in the day in Pendulums, people were using Beatrice to send this to the grave. They were ranking up into Gaia Charger to get it back because of its effect to recycle itself when you summon a high rank monster, and then they were going into Utopia with 2 level 4 monsters, discarding this and going to Zexal. Now we have an engine that can summon Zexal using 1 card, and people still don't played. Numeron was a huge flop for the TCG. People thought it was going to be extremely broken, and it ended up being extremely underwhelming. And you're telling me that a card that needs to summon the same monster by using 20 extra steps is actually ban-worthy? Not even. People do not play this card anymore, and keep in mind, this card was actually banned when Electromite was around. Pendulum had the consistency and the tools to use a combo like that. Right now, even if they tried to do that, they would not be able to because of how limited the card pool is. So I think Argent Chaos Force can easily come back to 3, and this card only sees plays in like fun decks. Like we've seen it in Gimmick Puppets, we've seen it in stuff like that, we've seen it in Chronomaly. It's just a tool to give a better rank up magic for high rank monster decks than just playing the good old stuff that don't really recycle themselves, because this card can actually act as 2 rank ups instead of 1 the moment you use the first one, because you can get it back from the grave. So that's just it. It's not something that's going to completely change the meta, because Zexal is very, very accessible now, and you don't summon it because you think that people use too many cards in the main deck and in the extra deck for the Numeron engine. Then imagine having to go through the steps I talked about in a Pendulum deck specifically in order to be able to do that, because I don't think any other deck has the tools to go into a rank 6 and a rank 4 very consistently in one turn. So this is why I think just put this card back to 3, it's completely fine. Now the other card is Gemini Master Diamond. Ever since Block Dragon got banned, the FTK is so inconsistent, it's absolutely unreal, and putting this card back to 3, maybe it would make the FTK more consistent, but still it would not be near as possible as it was when we had Brilliant Fusion and especially Block Dragon. And one more thing, if Konami was reluctant to put this card back to 3 because it's a level 9 monster and they might think that Geminites will become Calamities deck, then in this ban list prediction I've said that Calamities is going to get banned. So even if they were hesitant just for this reason, then if they do ban Calamities, then they have absolutely no reason to keep Master Diamond on 1, because Geminites are completely unplayable right now. Without Block Dragon, they do not have ways to search the materials for Lapis Lazuli consistently, and the extra materials with Crystal Rose to be able to use to keep fusion summoning, to be able to keep using Lapis Lazuli's effect, because going into Lapis Lazuli once is not enough to FTK. So this is why I think putting Diamond to 3 can actually make the deck a little bit more consistent for the FTK, maybe for people to try it, which is not going to be problematic because we have a lot of inconsistent FTKs in the format that just nobody knows about because nobody plays them. Gemini was just one of those FTKs that ended up being good when Phantom Quartz came out, but still the deck has just suffered so many hits. It's unfair for the deck right now to have a card that would not change anything be at 1. Maybe with 3 Master Diamond would actually become a better OTK deck, or it could actually use the new Divine Tree Beast from Blazing Vortex to go into Negate for a rank 9 instead of Calamities, because Calamities is probably going to get banned. So yep, Gemini Master Diamond can come back to 3 very, very easily, and nothing would actually change for the meta. So yep, that's the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. If you have any thoughts of what Konami were actually going to do, if you think I've missed anything, if you think there are other cards that it's very, very easy to come back from the ban list and not pretty much be very impactful, comment down below, give us your thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss our upcoming content, and we'll see you next time.